I am absolutely exhausted. Okay, I picked the last song because I knew that I was gonna get just fully exhausted regardless.
You can do no wrong.
Absolutely incredibly exhausting. It takes energy even just to hold this thing. So I think this experiment says that I'm out of shape and I need to get in shape. I just want to teleport home. Can I just teleport home? If anyone is on the street, I'm the only one talking. It feels like I'm in a library, but out on the street. Welcome to the Stockholm Library. Please be quiet and be mindful of other guests. Oh, sad bike. So there are a number of stairs to get where I live. So here's a set of stairs. Oh my god. This is just like... I've been doing so much DDR today. And now these stairs. And then finally home with an actual. Hey. What a journey. Wait, we're on your screen as well. Wow. That's really weird. See, it's you, Thor. You're on stream. This is what Thor usually does. He steals Ashley's chair. And then he does whatever this is. He just does a little squirming around. And then he says, "Wah," every time we say Thor.
Look at all those combos! You're the one they came to see!
Do we try pump it up? I'm still pretty exhausted. Oh god. Sweaty, but I think I can do one more. As long as I do like not level 14 songs. That's a really good pattern. That's a great song. I'm gonna fail this. Some parts are really hard on that one.
Hey, why don't you just get up and dance, man?
I really need water. That's the weirdest rule, by the way. You're not allowed to drink water standing up. So here I am sitting, I guess. So it turns out they've applied some sort of rule to like all quote-unquote nightclubs, even though this is not a nightclub, that because of the coronavirus, you're not allowed to stand up in crowds and drink whatever it is you're drinking. It's because you're trying to, like, I don't know, minimize contact. I might do solo DDR, because doubles are exhausting. Okay, let's play.
That's what I'm talking about! I crown you king, the combo king!
I wish I owned these machines, but I don't. I think I went a little too far. I played two pretty difficult songs in a row, or rather exhausting songs in a row. Otherwise I usually don't have to take a break after the first round. I can usually do like 2 or 3 rounds, which is like 6 to 9 songs, but I'm also very out of shape, so we could also do some Pump It Up. Singles, I usually gravitate around 11, 12 in terms of difficulty. When I play on one pad, I'm usually at like fun for me. 13 can be, but sometimes it's kind of difficult. 14 is when it starts getting way more difficult for me. 15, I start feeling songs. Let's do some Pump It Up. Let's do more DDR. I'm not gonna do super difficult songs. Maybe I'll do singles actually. Yeah, I'm gonna do singles. This is the part that sucks. Like, heading home is the worst. That is a gorilla. I actually missed that. Huh. You know, sure, it's not my aesthetic, but I support this aesthetic existing in the world. I think it's good for diversity of aesthetics. Oh, actually, I think there's a sex shop here that I don't want to get banned for, so... There's some spooky masks and chocolates in here. That's a weird sex shop. You know, it kind of depends on what you're into, right? If you're into creepy dolls and chocolate, then, I mean, you do you. Being nice to everyone around you and yourself. I'm not gonna judge. The same way that it's okay to get a, like, very pink truck with a gorilla on top with yellow on the side as well. Like, it's okay. But it's just not me, you know? I think my favorite time to take a walk is when I'm, like, drunk and I need to sober up. For some reason, just taking a long walk with someone I can have like a long conversation with, it's just really good. I just really like having, I don't know, people tend to be more honest and deep and don't feel so shy about talking about things that matter to them when they're drunk. What I've noticed about people, or specifically men in plural, is that men in groups tend to not be very open with their emotions and tend to not be very vulnerable about their personal lives and their like actually deeply held opinions, except when it comes to like, I don't know, flaunting their stuff in front of others in order to jab at someone or make fun of someone because it's funny, right? And I feel like the currency in like groups of men tend to be like how funny you are. And I hate that type of thing. Kind of just makes you rip on each other, and after a while it just tends to be a bit of a hostile environment. But what I've noticed is that take any of these dudes that can sometimes be a little bit abrasive and make fun of each other or whatever. If you just take a long walk with them, one-on-one, when they're drunk, they're the kindest, sweetest people ever. And it's just one of these things that's like, I really wish people could feel comfortable opening up. I guess this is just a very long way of, I guess, explaining what toxic masculinity is. But yeah, so I have this like really positive attachment with going for a long walk after having had a lot of drinks, just hanging out with people. It's really good. It also applies to people who are not men, of course. I think there's a certain amount of like intimacy when you're one-on-one. If you're in a group setting, if you're wrong about something, you like risk having a lot of people, like a majority, be against you, right? But if you're in a one-on-one setting, if the other person thinks you're wrong about something, you're an even like equal footing, right? That's my theory, at least. That's why people are more comfortable opening up in a one-on-one setting, because there's less judgment, right? It's a little sad, but it's neat that people actually open up. There's a certain amount of relief. You don't have to pretend anything. This might be the annoying, problematic centrist in me or whatever. But I genuinely do believe that most people who are like problematic or have opinions that a lot of people, including me, would consider bad, they have those emotions and thoughts for a reason, right? Figuring out why they think the way they do, I think can be really illuminating and be like, okay, why do you believe the thing you believe, right? What were your circumstances that led you to become a person who has gotten this information about that? Figuring out what is important to people is also really important. So I think it's easy to get lost in just like, I don't know, if you have figured out something in steps A, B, C, D, and E about some topic, could be anything like politics or morals or whatever, and you've had this long journey of learning, and then you bump into a person who's at A in this journey, but you're at E, and they say something at A, which is like super problematic. If you then criticize them for not having taken that journey, then I feel like you have to be really careful to make sure that you're like helping them learn in a way. I think it's a mistake to say like, oh, why are you at A? That's fucked up. You suck. You have to be at E. And I think that's really sad, because then you're not like helping them learn. You're not really like getting them to a better place. All you're saying, like really, all you're saying if you're doing that is sort of like you're invalidating their feelings and you make them feel hurt, and by doing so, they're just gonna step further away from your opinion, most likely, right? What if they're consistently staying and only staying at A and don't want to evolve? Of course, I'm not going to say that like you have to be charitable towards every problematic person and never put up defenses and never consider them to be like antagonistic. But I would even say that in the case of Rowling, I genuinely believe that she has reached these opinions for reasons that she believes is correct and would reduce harm in society. I genuinely believe that. I think the outcome is horrible, and the things she does and says are absolutely trash. There's of course like the practical aspect of like, how do you reach a person like this? And it's really hard. I don't know. That's like a separate question, like the practicalities of how you even convince someone. Convincing someone of anything is really hard. There are different levels of convincing people, I feel like. You need to get at their emotions and their justifications for their beliefs, right? Yeah, I genuinely do believe that she believes the things she's saying. Even if it comes from a point of like transphobia, you can always ask the question of why is she transphobic, right? I'm also saying this as someone who used to be transphobic myself, right? How do we get someone away from that? But yeah, if it's not possible, if someone keeps digging in their heels, then fuck those people. I'm not going to say that we have to appreciate everyone, even though they're problematic. I'm just saying that like there are certain attacks you can levy at people that are not going to budge them at all. And in fact, it sometimes can make things worse, right? But Rowling is still an absolutely harmful person, so it still doesn't change that fact. So that's the problematic centrist in me that always wants people to get along and love and understanding and trying to convince people to think better of people while they're harming society. There we go. That's my bad take. But yeah, I think it's absolutely important to recognize that, like, you could extend this too far as well. A good example is someone who's like, let's say we have a psychopath serial killer. I think most people in the world would say that this person is very harmful for society if they have the tools and the access to do the things that they do, right? But you could still think about, like, okay, what led them to do the things that they did, right? And like, is there anything we can do to help them feel better? You know, there's still value in making sure that people who are harmful can stop doing the harmful things, even though we can understand that, like, yeah, there are probably some psychological basis, or, you know, they grew up in a certain way that made them who they are today, right? So it's not like we should extend an olive branch to absolutely everyone. Yeah, I don't know. I think people can go a long way if you try to listen to where people are coming from in general. I think that's good, like, individually, but there are people who's not going to budge no matter what. Yeah, of course, those people will always exist, and those people will always be hard to deal with. I don't know what to do with people like that. Like, say JK Rowling keeps just doing the shit she does, then yeah, I guess we just have to write her off as just a perpetual transphobe and fuck her, you know? Yeah, the thing that, like, makes me really sad about JK Rowling is that, like, she has such a massive influence over people. The fact that she does and does the things she does, it's just horrible to me. I really wish we could, like, save her somehow. I do get the frustration of, like, people who are, like, both sidesing every issue, and I think that's a stupid thing to do. Yeah, there are a lot of, like, cases where, you know, going both sides have a point is a problem. But to me, that's less of a problem because you're trying to understand what the other one is thinking, and more of a problem because you're kind of equivocating them and putting them on equal footing and putting equal, like, moral weight to both opinions, right? And I think that's fundamentally just an extremely flawed way of looking at things. That's just terrible. I used to sort of be like that as well, but I've changed a lot. Oh, this, by the way, is the very boring castle. It's the least interesting castle in Europe. Wanting to understand where someone comes from isn't the same as agreeing with them or believing that they have a point. A lot of people see it that way on the far left especially. To me, that kind of hurts the whole thing I was talking about earlier, where, like, if you can have a one-on-one conversation with someone, then quite often you agree on so much more than you disagree with. And I think it's a shame to just cast off people as being, like, really, really harmful or whatever because of one thing that they believe. I think ContraPoints is a really good example of this, where a lot of people came out against her. If you look at what this person who's against ContraPoints and what Contra believes, they're gonna line up on fucking 99.99% of issues. But there was one thing that she said in a video or in a tweet, or had some problematic person read off a quotation in her video, and then some people just consider her to be gone at that point, and that's really sad to me. More than anything else, the people on the left need to unite and, like, vote against assholes and take action against everything that's happening in the world. I feel like this is a bigger problem on the left because on the left people care. It sounds mean. I feel like a lot of people on the right, they tend to be a bit more like, we may not agree on everything, but whatever, I'm cool having a beer with you or whatever, and then it's fine. But, like, on the left, people really do care about so many issues, and strongly so, and I think people are right to care about these issues too. But I feel like it starts becoming harmful if you start rejecting people from your community who could be really valuable. Even though you might not align on everything. And it's a shame too, and, like, I understand it, like, fully. Like, I get why you'd want to, like, cast out someone who's done something really fucking harmful. Totally get the feeling. It's just frustrating that, like, everybody has feelings involved. People who have feelings about the people who have feelings, and then it ends up being, like, complicated. The other option candidates are assholes too. What's the point of voting? The point of voting is to get change to happen in your country legislatively, right? And if you don't vote, you have kind of given up your right to have the system of democracy to do anything, right? And I feel like that's a huge loss. I think you absolutely should vote for the lesser evil. However much it sucks, however much boring Biden is and how bad he is, the alternative is so much worse. Like, I get how shitty it is to vote for Biden, trust me, but, like, wow, the alternative is so much worse that, like, kind of have no other option, right? My dad doesn't vote because he doesn't believe in the system. Yeah, the system is completely messed up right now, but that doesn't change anything. More or less the same, just like Trump and Hillary. No, I fundamentally reject the thing that says, like, I don't know, Biden and Trump is the same. No, that is so far from the truth. So it's like, if you believe that, please read up on the policies and the actions that Trump has taken and what Biden believes. Please read up on that. Like, if you think that Biden is going to do the same things that Trump has done, then yeah, you need to get to know Biden, I guess. And we can keep saying that, like, the Democratic establishment kind of sucks, and the political system is completely broken, and everything is really, really unfair. You really want things to push to the left, but Biden is not left enough. All of those plights are 100% valid. Like, I fully support that, and yes, I agree, but you can fight this on multiple fronts, right? And voting is one of them, and I think that's one of the most crucial ones. I really get the frustration of how shit the candidates are, because they really are. I feel like the system is designed to have you vote to have political action happen, and even though you might not think that's the best way to take action, it's one of the ways that you can take action, and it's an incredibly easy one at that, ideally, because there's voter suppression and that is horrible, but for people who are relatively privileged, it's easy to vote. I feel like if you are not fighting Trump by voting, then you are helping Trump get reelected. And Trump is doing everything he can to get reelected, and Trump has already done demonstrable harm to every single community there is. To me, if you can vote and you choose not to vote for Biden, you are helping Trump. You are helping this harmful person to keep doing more harm to everybody. And that's horrible to me. You can't just vote, you have to vote and keep making us think about bad things happening. Absolutely. Oh God, there's a preacher here. What?
God, who is love, who gave us spirit and a body.
Oh my God. Holy shit. I can just feel the atheist in me bubble up. I'm like shaking because I want to debate that person. Oh no. I thought this was in my past. God, I was so pulled into the atheist debate stuff. I kind of separated away from the quote-unquote atheist community as soon as they started becoming anti-feminist. Or it might have been that I became feminist and then I just didn't appreciate the stuff anymore, because a lot of it was like so incredibly like misogynistic and shitty that I probably didn't see back then. Oh, what video was it? There's a video by Tim Minchin called Storm. It's like a skit, but there's also an animation that someone made about it.
Pharmaceutical companies are the enemy. They promote drug dependency at the cost of the natural remedies that all our bodies need.
And watching that now was a completely different experience than watching that when I was a little shitty atheist. It was different, and there are a lot of things in that video that I now like feel really uncomfortable with that I just didn't think about or notice back then. But I do still think like Tim Minchin is doing good stuff, and probably in general I haven't seen that much stuff from Tim Minchin. I guess Storm might be a bit old at this point, and I'm not even sure if Tim Minchin would approach it the same way today. But like, I do know that watching it back then, I saw no faults with it, and I thought it was just funny and good, right? But these days, I just like, I don't know, there were a lot of things in it that was bad. A lot of like unnecessary jabs. I don't know, there was a gag in there that made fun of someone for having a weird name, which I think to me now is just kind of like, I don't know, that's not funny. Like, why would you make fun of someone for having a weird name? I don't know. Also making fun of someone for being a vegetarian. It's like, make fun of people for like legitimate things, not things that aren't harmful, you know? That's something I've been like learning a lot as of late, like having more precision in the way that I want to like, I guess, verbally attack people. Like, I've seen a lot of people who make fun of Trump when he's like stumbling up onto a podium giving a talk, and to me that rubs me extremely the wrong way. To me, that is literally like that's ableist. Jesus Christ. Like, sure, Trump is a fucking asshole, but criticize him for his assholery, not for him stumbling, because when you're doing that, you're literally criticizing everyone else who would do that, right? And that is just horrifying to me. Just don't do that, you know? And I feel like there's a lot of people who don't have like consistency in their beliefs when it comes to like what is okay and what is not okay. A lot of people kind of drop that as soon as there's a really problematic person or whatever, right? So like something I've been thinking about a lot as of late is like, what are my actual beliefs, and do I actually apply them evenly across the board? Because I do feel like people don't do that in general, and it's really shameful. I'm not particularly happy seeing people criticize Melania for a lot of the same reasons. Precision and clarity, conserve your identity for what really matters. Yeah, it makes me really uncomfortable when people are ready to criticize people who are bad in other regards, but then they sort of just drop their principles. Same thing with the like ableism thing. We care about ableism until we can use it against like Republicans, and that makes me really sad. Then it's sort of, to me, that sort of says that they don't actually believe that ableism is something that is bad. It's just that it's only bad when it's used against people they agree with, and that makes me like uncomfortable. So I think for me, I think I probably hold a lot of beliefs that I'm inconsistent with and that I don't apply evenly. Every time we have some like problematic person in chat or like in Discord or whatever, to me that is a really interesting opportunity to like explore what are my consistent beliefs and am I applying them consistently, and then like trying to find inconsistencies in the other person's beliefs. That is one of the most effective ways to drive the conversation forward. So like it's one of the most effective ways to like for you to realize what are your actual moral beliefs, and if you find inconsistencies in others, then that can usually be really like either educational or it can help you like try to work it out, right? But I guess one problem with that, if you start doing that, there are a lot of like beliefs you can run into that kind of run contrary to what a lot of people in your community would believe, and that is kind of scary to me. There's a lot of situations where like it's very easy to kind of just agree with everyone, but if you start kind of like, I don't know, trying to figure out your own morals in a different way, then you might reach some conclusions that are going to go against what a lot of people believe in your community, and that's kind of scary. I don't know. There's something to be said about the difficulty of dealing with a troll in good faith. They're a troll, and often they don't believe 90% of what they say. Yeah, no, engaging with a troll is not helpful. Engaging with a troll is an entirely different thing than engaging with someone you disagree with. A troll, you can just generally just ban them or just have fun with them, sort of. Yeah, a troll is an entirely different thing. I'm generally pretty detached when it comes to like human interaction and conversations and whatnot. I feel like for me in general, I find it very easy to kind of zoom out and just have a conversation about things because I find like philosophy really interesting and like morals and whatnot. And I feel like I quite often get like blinded by that to an extent where like sometimes I allow like harmful people to talk too much, especially in a public space like in Discord or on Twitch. So I still don't know like how to properly balance that, and I sometimes feel bad for it. I don't really know how to do it. And the problem is that like I really, really actually do enjoy it. I really enjoy disagreements when I'm in a safe place, when someone is at a distance. I think it's fascinating. But like, obviously there's a time and place on that, right? Like sometimes it's really inappropriate, and obviously you don't want to like platform someone's ideas that are like demonstrably harmful. But I guess my view of that is sort of like the way that I've been handling it so far is that if there are people who have like really harmful opinions that are in our community, I feel like the way that I approach platforming is that I have to actively engage with it, and if I don't, then I actually am platforming harmful ideas. If there is someone who's like really problematic or whatever, then I feel like a moral obligation to engage with it, and the other option is to just ban them. I feel like I have to talk to them because I do believe that platforming can be harmful. So if I don't do that, there's a huge risk that they just keep perpetuating ideas that make people really uncomfortable in Discord. It's me, love. Hey, I'm sweaty and gross. That's Ashley. Wow. Bye everyone. Have a nice day. Hope this weird philosophical walk was not too problematic. Oh gosh. Okay. Bye everyone. Every debate you win, you get a drink. I think usually the way it works, if you're debating, I think usually both people will lose. Because I don't think most debates will lead anywhere, especially if people are drunk. Debate a drunk Ashley. I feel like Ashley and I don't think we disagree a whole lot. I think we agree on most things. I believe that a lot of people have strong opinions that they haven't fundamentally justified. And I think that's normal, and that's okay. Because not everyone is like really embedded into politics or morals or whatever. It's kind of a niche thing. So it makes sense to take shortcuts. But I'm personally really uncomfortable doing that. So most of my opinions are not super strong, and I can generally be swayed if there are good arguments for or against something, right? So generally, and I feel like Ashley is similar in that we are very hesitant to take very strong stances on things that we don't know a lot about. So between me and Ashley, it wouldn't be very spicy. So I enjoy arguments, but I also don't know if I'd be good at it. I haven't had that many public debates. I actually did a long time ago on my stream. I had like maybe 3 or 4 debates. There's also the issue of like, again, I don't like taking stances that I haven't like justified. I feel like if I go into a debate on a topic that I haven't like properly solidified with like good reasons, I'm probably going to lose that debate because I'm not going to like say stuff that I don't believe is true only to appear as winning the debate. Unpopular opinion with strong knowledge from your side is a good starting point. Maybe, yeah. Maybe I can just destroy people with empathy. The thing is, I don't know what, so here's an example of where I think my empathy makes it difficult for me to be a debater. If we consider Jesus guy, I think they're in their like 30s, 40s somewhere. They're probably exhausted from people like trolling them. And then like having someone come up and like try to have like a quote unquote pseudo-intellectual discussion or whatever might be kind of like annoying. And maybe they don't even want to be there. They're just like, oh, their church told them that, oh, it would probably be good. It's probably unlikely to get a religious person to flip in a debate. Generally, yeah. But I wouldn't debate them to convince them. I would debate them because it's fun. Again, like I said, I don't think I would be able to lose any debates because just debating in and of itself is interesting and entertaining to me. So like, and then aside from that, if you want to go for like, you know, the utilitarian angle, I guess, of like, what's the utility of having a debate? I think in that case, it's not about convincing the person you're talking to, it's about convincing the viewers who might be on the fence, right? Oh, there's a streamer I watch, Destiny, who does a lot of debating. He has this like rule that he calls the 40-20-40 rule of like 40% are gonna agree with one person no matter what. The other 40% is gonna agree with the other person no matter what. But the 20% in the middle, those are the people you target when you're debating someone. Their religion is particularly hard because it's so entrenched, especially if they're older. It's gonna be really hard to move someone on that. No matter how stupid debate is, it would always convince some. Yeah. And I don't think my goal is always to convince someone either. I think it's also partially, for me, just the pursuit of having arguments with people is fascinating and interesting to me. I would find that like useful regardless of what happens in terms of winning the debate. I think I'd like to think that I have very sound reasons and like very good fundamentals as for why I believe the things I believe. But I think it's easy to trick myself into believing that, and it might not actually be true. So like, it might be the case that as soon as I actually debate someone on something, I might just fumble as soon as they dig like 2 layers deeper. Like whatever debate I would want to have with like a planned debate or whatever, I would need to do a lot of research. Like whatever it is, even if it's just like on my own morals, I need to like think about my own morals, right? I need to do research into my head. How do I think about these situations? What would they likely argue, and so forth. If I ever like get into debating, I feel like I should start with easy ones. The thing is, the more like difficult debates you get into, then like you start moving out of like very surface level politics, and you get very deeply into, you get like strongly into philosophy. And I don't know that much philosophy, so I feel like in some cases like I need to, I don't know, I need to have like a very solid groundwork philosophy before I can engage with some of the more difficult ones. The easiest people to find that I could debate are probably people to the left of me, but I'm not super interested in debating people on the left, and I also don't want to come off as someone who's like far right or whatever. That's also not good. Yeah, I don't know. I think people can very easily get the perception that like if you only debate people to the left of you, that you are way more to the right than you actually are. I don't want to like fall into that trap either. Like I kind of feel like everybody in my community is like further to the left of me, where like I would put my political thing, like labels are usually kind of confusing and annoying because you have to like explain your label and say what you're not all the time. But generally I would consider myself to be a social democrat. I very closely align with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is a social democrat. He's not like a total anti-capitalist. So Bernie Sanders is more like toward the Nordic model of social democracy, right? Which is kind of like a mixed economy. And I think that's where I lean towards the most. And I feel like most people in my Discord are probably further to the left than that. I think most would consider themselves to be socialists or communists. A lot of socialists and communists, I feel like they have the right ideas, but just an approach that I don't think is something that I would want or would even work. But debating people to the right of me, I think is more effective and probably more useful. So you're moderate? Well, that's the thing with labels, right? It gets complicated. I'm moderate in some cases. I'm not moderate in other cases, right? It depends if we're like US-centric or Scandinavia-centric or whatever. Yeah, in the US, I would be a radical, sort of. Like, I'm very close to Bernie Sanders. A lot of people in the US would consider Bernie Sanders to be a radical, right? But Bernie Sanders in Sweden would not be a radical at all. So like it depends on like where your center is. The US has no real leftist candidates. So that's an opinion that is coming from someone who is probably already in the like Twitter left. The Twitter left is my catch-all to like that type of leftism that is like socialism, communism, or anarcho-communism. I think a lot of those people would consider Bernie to be this like, you know, right-wing capitalist, right? I don't know, I feel like the most obnoxious parts of the left, those are the ones I like to call the Twitter left. But I'm not saying like every socialist or every communist is part of that type of Twitter leftist. Yeah, there are a lot of like super reasonable people out there. Maybe it's more useful for me to like, I don't know, go against people who are like transphobic, go against people who are anti-feminists, anti-SJWs. I feel like that's a more effective use of my time, because I feel like those are my real enemies. I don't think socialists and communists are my enemies generally. There's some fascist groups hiding behind communist labels now, so it becomes hard to discuss things online. Yeah, it's really difficult. Like, the information warfare between like ideological ideas is really difficult to work with, because you have a lot of visibility for people who are radical, and that makes it easy for people to sort of like inject fake radicals, right? I mean, you would see that a lot with like feminism and whatnot, right? You would have people who would like sort of make these like fake Twitter accounts and like put out ideas like, oh, kill all men or whatever. And then people have this idea like that's what feminism is, which it very much isn't, right? And that's how you get the anti-SJWs. Bernie will represent a socialist party in Portugal. Bernie is not a socialist. If you go by like the strict definitions, Bernie is definitely a social democrat. His discourse is very socialist, but it's different to say that the discourse is slightly socialist leaning versus actually being a socialist TM. I believe a socialist is explicitly against capitalism. A social democrat is not explicitly against capitalism as a concept. Social democrats are more about reform and having socialized healthcare and mixed economy. I think there are some things I would agree with the anti-SJWs on. I would agree that feminism is a bad word. I wish it was called something else so that all the people with fucking fragile masculinity could get on board. Egalitarianism, oh my god. Oof. I feel like egalitarianism is such a dog whistle of like, oh, I'm not a feminist, I'm a humanist. Or I'm an egalitarian. I'm just sort of like, fuck you, you know? Not that I would say that in a debate, but you know what I mean. It's just so often a dog whistle for like stealth anti-feminism. All right, thank you all so much for joining, and thank Thor for being a good, and thank Ashley for being an even gooder. And a wonderful person.